And I kept thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die. This is how I'm going to die. Like, it's going to be in the newspaper, and it's a youth pastor, and 8 students die because the dummy of a youth pastor said it was okay to go swimming. That's what's going to happen. And so I was freaking out. Hey, my name is Frank, and I'm a youth pastor. Hey, thank you so much for the support y'all have given me. Like the last week's video, you guys have been super generous with your comments, your text messages, your DMs, and all this stuff. Just saying how this is a kind of cool idea and things like that. And I'm just so grateful by just the response everyone's given me. And I just want to say, like, if you want to support this, subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification little bell, like whatever all other YouTubers say, do those things because I think they help in some capacity. And if you're on Facebook or Instagram watching this, like, put this in your stories, share this with someone, help other youth pastors find this content. And so I'm answering another question today that you guys sent me from episode 100. And the question I got today is a question that I actually received a lot in the questions from episode 100 is, what is my biggest youth ministry fail? Now, I think all of us have a long list of fails, but there's one story in particular that I hate to say it's a fail because I learned so much about, I learned so much from this experience, but it happened early on in my student ministry career, and it was the worst 2 days of my youth ministry career. So this is about 10 years ago. I was a youth pastor in Tampa, Florida, and I had never done a summer camp before or had taken students to a summer camp. And so I wanted to do a summer camp, and I was doing research and all this stuff, and I realized that there was a summer camp in Orange Beach, Alabama by an organization called Student Life, and the speaker for that camp that year was Matt Chandler. So I talked to the elder board of my church. I said I wanted to do a summer camp. And so I acquired 2 vehicles. And I said, I'm going to take these 2 vehicles. And they're like, okay, cool. How much is it going to be? So I kind of made a mini budget. And they said, all right, go ahead. We support you. You can do this summer camp. And so then I started promoting within the youth groups. I think I got a total of 8 students to go to this camp. And so it was me, my wife, and 8 students. And it was kind of evenly boys and girls. So like, I think there was 4 boys in my car and 4 girls in my wife's car, and we were literally gonna like drive together up to Orange Beach, Alabama from Tampa, Florida. We decided to take that drive in 2 days, and so we stopped in Panama City, Florida. And so I don't remember how far Panama City is from Orange Beach. It was probably like 4 hours. It was like probably half the distance from Tampa. So we woke up. We were ready. It was probably like 8 a.m. or so. We got in our cars, all packed up, and we decided to head off. And not too long after that, maybe about 30 minutes into the drive, a car stopped very abruptly in front of me. And so I like grab the wheel and brake as fast as I can, and I don't hit the car. All my kids are wearing seatbelts, so we're okay. And I remember even hearing my kids say, "Whoa, that was awesome. That was so close." And like, it was fine. I'm a safe driver. I didn't hit that car. But then I look in the rearview mirror and I see the car that my wife's driving, and she's not stopping. And I literally just say, "Hold on!" And then, I got hit, and it was like super surreal. Like, it felt like in that moment, like I wasn't in pain, I wasn't hurting, but I felt like how all those war movies are seen. You know what I'm saying? Where like it felt like I was in black and white, and I was just like, "What's happening?" And I'm hearing that like ringing sound, and I'm like, Is everyone okay? And I'm like looking around, making sure all my kids are okay. And they're all like, we're all covered in like this dust that comes from the airbags. And we're all like, kind of not woozy because no one got hurt, but we're just so disoriented by it all. And then I was like, after I figured out everyone was okay, I realized that I rear-ended the car in front of me. And like, it was pretty bad. Even though I was stopped, my wife's car hit me so hard that I hit the car in front of me pretty hard, which I find out later hit like 4 other cars in front of me after that. It was pretty crazy. So I get out of the car, and then I immediately go to, after I check out to make sure all my kids are good, the boys are good, I go to the car where the girls are. Windows are broken, airbags are inflated. All the other girls were just like, this was crazy, but we're okay. And I look at my wife, and she was like, what just happened? Like, she was smiling and giggling and stuff like that, and I didn't understand what was happening. But there's something you should know about my wife. For whatever reason, on long road trips, when she drives with her pinkies like this. And so she's driving like this, and when we got in the car accident, when the airbag ejected, her pinky on her left finger shattered. And literally, I looked at her, and I was trying to understand why she was like so weird and like smiling and giggling. And I looked at her hand, and her pinky was like down here, and it looked horrific. And I said, "Hey, are you okay? What's wrong with your pinky?" And literally, she looked at it and then slumped over. Like she completely passed out. So her pinky is completely shattered because she was driving like this for whatever reason. Like she was drinking 2 cups of tea the whole time. So cops come, fire department comes, paramedics comes. The paramedics take my wife to a hospital. They're like, she's gonna need surgery, so she needs to go. And my wife is now like, I think she's crying, but she's also kind of like a little delusional because of the pain or whatever. And so she's like, what's happening? She gets in the car and she leaves. Now I'm here with 8 students, and I need to talk to the cops. I need to talk to all these people. We need to exchange insurance information. Remember, neither of these cars are my cars. And so I tell the kids, hey, across the street, there's like this big parking lot. I think it was like a Target or something. I tell them to all go over there and just to like hang out there. I was really young, so I just like trusted the kids to like not make poor decisions. So they're all over there, and they actually did not make poor decisions. They're really good kids. I trade information, all that stuff, and then the cops send over tow trucks to deal with these cars, and they're like, "Can you move any of the cars?" The car my wife was driving is clearly totaled. Like there's no way it's gonna work. Like engine parts are on the floor. Like it was done. And so that clearly got on the thing. I thought for some reason my car would have been fine. So I got in my car, I tried to turn it on, and it wouldn't work. And I was like, oh no, this car's totaled too. And so they take that car off. So now, both the cars that weren't either of ours, or rentals, or friends, or my in-laws, are totaled somewhere near Panama City. I talked to the cop, and they said that, your wife is at this hospital. We have all the information. Well, this is where your cars are being towed at. This is, all that kind of stuff. So I then, like, after that, everyone leaves. I'm like there by myself. I go over to the kids to make sure they're okay. This is now 11 a.m. I think. This is like about 11 a.m. All the kids are fine. They're actually just chilling, hanging out in the parking lot. And like for them, this is kind of an adventure. And so I said, hey guys, can you stay here for a few more minutes? I need to make some phone calls. So the first thing I do is I call my senior pastor. And for whatever reason, I think at that moment is when like everything just like clicks. And I was like, what just happened? Like I got in a huge car accident. The worst car accident I've ever been a part of in my life. My wife is going into surgery, I think, and like I'm just freaking out right now. And so I start like being honest, I start crying because I just like I may be like 23 at this time, 22, 23, and I'm like just overwhelmed. There's a lot of responsibility on me, and I didn't know what to do. So I call my senior pastor, and he talks me off. He calms me down, and he says, "Frank, you have a decision to make right now. You either can like get everyone together, fold this up. We can figure out how to send like a van to come pick you guys up, and you can come back home, and no one's gonna blame you for this. Or you can get another rental van or something, figure it out, get some rental vehicle, and keep going on the trip." And I remember like after he said that, I just like hung up and I thought about it. Like I wanted to go home because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. But I thought to myself, like, there's maybe like a bigger thing here. Like maybe there's just something better here for us if we just keep going, and God's going to teach us something. And so I ended up doing that. I ended up figuring out, okay, I'll get a rental vehicle later, but like first let's go talk to my wife because I also want to make sure that she's cool if I keep going. But we go to the hospital, and I see my wife, and she's on this gurney in this bed. And then I said, hey, I want to ask you for your permission, if you're cool with it, that I'm going to keep these kids and we're going to go to camp and we're going to keep going. I'll call your parents and they can come get you and then they can bring you home. Are you okay with this? And this is what she said. Frank, I think I'm really good at spirit fingers on my right hand, even though I hurt my left hand. Now, let me explain what that means. There's a rapper named KB. He's on Reach Records. He's on the same label as Lecrae and all that stuff. And Me and him went to Bible college together, and we were good friends, and we saw like 100 of his concerts before he got signed and after he got signed. And one thing he would do is he would rap really fast and do this thing, and he'd call it spirit fingers, and it's like him like showing how fast he can rap. For whatever reason, my wife is so high on painkillers that the only thing she could think about was rapping like KB, and I took that as an affirmation that I should go to this camp. So I did. And so I called her parents and I said, hey, this is what's happening. Are you cool? And they were super cool. They weren't mad about the car. They're like, all right, we'll come get her. So then I started doing some research on where I can rent a vehicle. At 23, I found a van that I could get that was in that area. We picked up I took all the kids. We went down to the place where all the totaled cars were, got all of our luggage, put it in the van, and then we headed to Orange Beach, Alabama. We got to Orange Beach, Alabama super, super late, like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And so the first day was completely missed. We missed the first session. We missed registration. We got there. We got our stuff. And we ended up going to our hotels. If you know Student Life at Orange Beach, Alabama, and a lot of these camps in Orange Beach, Alabama, you stay in condos. And so literally it was like myself and all the boys in this like big like 3 or 4 bedroom suite. And so all the girls don't have a female leader because my wife is high on morphine over in Panama City. So all the girls, I put this senior girl who was one of the most shyest girls in our entire student ministry, but I knew I could trust her. I said, hey, you're in charge. And I've never done a student leadership program before, but this is trial by fire. She's in charge now. And so she is now like having to watch the 3 other girls that are in her hotel room. We kind of like, I think I got McDonald's or something. We eat, we go to bed, and we wake up the next morning. And like I gathered the troops, I got all the students together, and I said, hey, let's make the most of today, and let's go to the first session. After first session, let's sprint to the beach, because it's going to be so fun to go swimming. We go to the session, and it was great. Matt Chandler killed it, and like I really enjoyed it. The worship was phenomenal. Student Life did do a pretty good camp. And then we immediately go back to our hotel, change out of our clothes, put on bathing suits, and we go to the beach. There's 2 things you should know about this. Is one in Florida, in Tampa at least, where we are in the Gulf, or at least we're, Clearwater rather, there's not a ton of waves. Like, it's a pretty, like, chill ocean, right? Like the Gulf of Mexico is usually pretty chill, especially that part near Florida. And so it wasn't, so like, I don't know anything about, like, wind advisories or surf advisories or flags. I never paid attention to that. The only thing I worried about is stingrays and stuff like that. Unless there's a hurricane, there's not really that many waves near Clearwater and near those beaches in Tampa. But in Alabama, there were waves. And we thought this is cool because waves are fun. That's the first thing I messed up. The second thing I messed up is this. This was the same year as the ExxonMobil oil spill that happened in the Gulf. And so this wasn't that big of a deal, but like literally our clothes were covered in like glunks of oil all throughout, everywhere we went, because like there was literally oil all in the ocean. And we went into the water and we would swim and we were having fun and we were having a great time. And then we noticed no one else was in the water. People were on the shore, but no one was in the water. And we also noticed that we were very far away from the shore. At one point I looked up and I was like, whoa, we're like 100 yards away from the shore. We should get back. And I told the guys, hey, we should go back. And I see people on the shore, like 20 of them, waving their arms, saying, come back, get back to shore. Like, you're too far. And we're like, what's happening? Well, this is what happened. It's like whatever the worst flag is in the ocean, double black or double red or whatever that looks like, that's what was happening. The rip current was so strong that it pulled us 100 yards without us even realizing. And this is like within 20 minutes of us being at the beach. Like we got in the water and then we're 100 yards away. And so I was like, guys, we got to go. We got to make it in. We got to go in. And so everyone's swimming, and if you know anything about rip currents, like you shouldn't swim against it. You should swim alongside of it, and then you slowly come in. None of us knew this. We're from Tampa. Like, this doesn't happen. At least it didn't happen when I was at the beach. You know what I'm saying? And I remember there was this girl. She weighed about like 90 pounds. She might have been like a freshman in high school at the time. She was like 90 pounds. and she was very, very small, and she was in like an inner tube kind of floating along, and I had one hand on the inner tube, and I was slowly like trying to bring her in, and I couldn't, and I was getting exhausted. And I'm not proud of what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it. I looked at her, I looked at the shore, I looked at her again, I looked at the shore, and I just said to her, "You're going to be okay, just keep kicking." And I let go of the inner tube. She started floating away, and she was like, "Frank, Frank, Frank, Frank." And I just said, like "You're gonna be okay. You're on an inner tube. Just keep kicking." And so that was my hope. She was gonna be okay. I'm literally thinking, I don't know if I'm going to survive, so I need to get out of here. She's on an inner tube. She's going to be fine. I'm just worried about all these other kids. So we're swimming as hard as we can, and we had a kid on our youth group who ended up like going to college to be like a professional, like a student athlete swimmer, and he was struggling. He made it before everyone else, but still he was even struggling. And I remember at one time I was so exhausted from trying to swim, the crowd's yelling at us, and I kept thinking to myself, "This is how I'm gonna die. This is how I'm gonna die." Like, it's going to be in the newspaper, and it's a youth pastor, and 8 students die because the dummy of a youth pastor said it was okay to go swimming. That's what's going to happen. And so I was freaking out. I do make it to the shore. Other kids make it to the shore. The girl in the inner tube makes it to the shore, kind of bitter towards me, don't know why. We all make it to the shore except there's 2 kids left. 2 girls. That senior girl I told you about, that's really shy, that's in charge, and one of her friends. And so they are deep, maybe even further, like 120, 150 yards, and these 2 lifeguards show up. And these lifeguards are maybe 19 years old. Like, they're not that old. They're just young dudes, like, "We got this, bro," and they like have long hair. They go in the water, they're swimming, they go out there, they hand them the buoy, they say, "Hold on to the buoy," and they bring them in. They bring those 2 girls to their like lifeguard truck, and they like do like whatever they do to see if they're okay, like checking their eyes. And I remember very vividly, this one girl was so like high off the experience, like so overwhelmed and delusional. The lifeguard said, "Are you okay? Do you need anything?" And she said, "I don't think I can breathe. I need mouth to mouth." And the lifeguard looked at her and said, "No, you don't. Have a good day," and walks away. And first off, that lifeguard, baller move to just curve her like crazy. But two, like I just thought it was so funny. She was so gone that she thought, "This boy is so dreamy. Maybe he'll give me mouth to mouth resuscitation." Like, it's just a mess of a situation. After that, we didn't swim in the ocean again. We swam in the pool, and I didn't tell many people about that. We didn't tell many people about that situation. But hey, all the kids survived. Was it the biggest fail? Yes. But here's the one thing I learned about this whole experience. Adversity creates unity. When I think back about that situation, I think about the fact that we went through some of the hardest times. That was one of the hardest youth ministry experience I've ever experienced, up to that point, obviously. And for years to come, that was one of the tough moments. My wife had to go. I was by myself as a leader. I'm thinking back at home. My wife has a broken pinky, how she's going to deal with that. 2 cars are totaled. How am I going to deal with that? How am I going to afford any of this? I'm a 23-year-old youth pastor. You know for sure I'm not getting paid good. Like, all this stuff is like a mess. I now have had 2 experiences where I almost saw 2 of my students die, like in a car accident, and then the ocean experience, but we all survived it. And we all banded together. And those kids were more unified after that experience than they ever was before that experience. And like that youth group, like, we were never very big, but we were tight. And I was able to like pour into them and speak truth in them because we had that experience. And I think one thing I've learned from there is like, when adversity comes in youth ministry, it's easy to just say, "Nope, I'm done. I need to back out. I just need to get parents involved. I need to call my my senior pastor. Let me just cancel the event. We can do all that. Or we can try to fight through the adversity and come out the other side much, much more stronger." And that's for sure what happened in this camp. To this day, some of those kids would say that was the most fun camp they've ever been to. And those kids are like in their mid-20s now. But those kids would say that was their most fun camp they've ever been to because of the crazy experiences they had to. And Matt Chandler's a baller preacher. Hey, thank you so much for watching this. This is my biggest fail of student ministry, but it probably won't be my last fail in student ministry. If you've enjoyed this, let me know your biggest fail in the comments below. Like this, give me a thumbs up, share it, whatever else other YouTubers say. But until next time, bye, buddy.